I know what you want. Oh, sure, they may have tried to separate us, but what we have is too strong, it's too powerful. I mean, after all, we shared everything, you and I. I told you my deepest, darkest secrets. I showed you exactly what people are capable of. I shocked you with my honesty, but mostly I challenged you and made you think. And you trusted me, even though you knew you shouldn't. So we're not done, no matter what anyone says. And besides, I know what you want. You want me back. Of course, some believed everything and have just been waiting with bated breath to hear me confess it all. They're just dying to have me declare that everything said is true and that I got what I deserved. Wouldn't that be easy if it was all so simple? Only you and I both know it's never that simple, not in politics and not in life. But you wouldn't believe the worst without evidence, would you? You wouldn't rush to judgments without facts, would you? Did you? No, not you. You're smarter than that. Anyway, all this presumption made for such an unsatisfying ending, and to think it could have been such a memorable send-off. I mean, if you and I have learned nothing else these past years, it's that in life and art, nothing should be off the table. We weren't afraid, not of what we said and not of what we did, and we're still not afraid. Because I can promise you this. If I didn't pay the price for the things we both know I did do, I'm certainly not going to pay the price for the things I didn't do. Oh, of course, they're going to say I'm being disrespectful, not playing by the rules, like I ever played by anyone's rules before. I never did, and you loved it. Anyhow, despite all the poppycock, the animosity, the headlines, the impeachment without a trial, despite everything, despite even my own death, I feel surprisingly good. And my confidence grows each day that soon enough you will know the full truth. Wait a minute. Now that I think of it, you never actually saw me die, did you? Conclusions can be so deceiving. Miss me?
Last time we were covering Kevin Spacey, as I was saying, sorry, I literally just saw that my mic was off. As you know, we can never have a show where there's something, no technical difficulty, but I appreciate everyone that's here. I was basically saying, just to go over a little bit, last time that we were here, we were going over Dan Wootton's interview. In my opinion, I personally thought that this was probably going to be the only interview, and after I had pretty much finished that stream, after analyzing that interview, because he went after every single allegation to refute it. So I was in that particular interview. It's on episode 8. You can go check that out. But in that particular interview, we were just assessing the credibility of whether his refutal actually is true, or whether he's just putting on a show for that particular interview. The next day, to my surprise, there was another interview with the Daily Telegraph, but I thought that was it. Nothing pretty much came out of that. And then there was 2 more interviews that just dropped, that just been released. The one with Lex Fridman, as well as the one with Piers Morgan, which was, in my opinion, very revelatory. That's a mouthful, I apologize. But it was pretty much, it took me by surprise, and it kind of led me to put together this addendum to it, because if there are more interviews coming from this, in that case, I better preempt as well as respond, well, not respond, but react in a concise manner to the previous interviews that we have seen. because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack on this. So yeah, let's do it on tonight's stream. Shout out to everyone that's here. Yeah, let's roll the intro. So, like I was saying, shout out to everyone that's here. If you're here live, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching back on replay, I appreciate you for joining. Apologies for the mic difficulty earlier. I'll just go to the chat right now. Shout out to Laura B. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for tuning in. But like I was saying, and shout out to everyone as well, the lurkers. I see you. Some of you are not comfortable using the chat. That's perfectly fine. If it would be nice if you guys would interact, but it's all good as long as you guys are enjoying the content. I appreciate. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button as well, and also share this. It really does help with the algorithm. But like I was saying, in regards to Kevin Spacey and these interviews, I feel like he's only doing these interviews because, in my opinion, he not only has two jobs to do. He has to, one, he's obviously an actor. Public persona is everything, because in his industry, it's make or break based on your status in the society, so to speak. So I can understand that side of the interviews, where people are kind of a bit critical of that side as well, because they're saying that nothing he can be said can be taken for true because he's an actor, so he's acting the part or doing. Look, I'm not a body language expert. I'm not someone who has studied psychology to understand how people think or the motives behind their words, all those things. But one thing I do know is it's perfectly legitimate for him to do as much interviews as he has done, because his image has been like, whether you agree with the veracity and the accuracy of his refutations. That's what I'm looking for. Whether you agree with his refutations as well as the lawsuits that he's been through, whether you even agree with, all of those things, irrespective of that, he has to do this, right? He has to go out there for the sake of his craft, brand, whatever. I personally believe that everyone deserves to work, like one way or the other. Now, for this particular, he did say on the Piers Morgan interview that he's gone broke. I'm not going to be covering that part, so that's why I'm kind of laying it out here. He did say that he's bankrupt, etc. All of those things. All the interviews, one thing I've noticed that was consistent, he's crying in all of them. Whether that's performative or not, I cannot. I'm not the one to judge. However, like I was saying earlier, there's a couple of things that came out in these few interviews that really made me take a pause, because he revealed on the Lex Fridman interview, and I don't know how common knowledge this was. I don't know if he's ever spoken about this. So if you know in the chat, you are perfectly fine to actually engage in this poll, because I'm gonna put it up. The poll is basically saying, did you know that Kevin Spacey dad was a white supremacist? Because I didn't know this, and this pretty much, a white supremacist, a white nationalist, and this pretty much has influenced a lot of what I have planned for this stream today. Because the minute I found that out, I went to look at the people that hold these ideals. I went to look up the psychology behind it, the cases of white supremacists and what came out of that, the behaviors that come, all of that. I tried to cover as much base as possible. So based on what I found, I have decided, okay, you know what, there's something of interest here that could be discussed, because it would kind of give a preview of what he was growing up with and how that may have informed his personality. On Piers Morgan, though, he did actually, I didn't watch the entire Piers Morgan interview, just for full disclosure. I did watch the full Dan Wootton, Telegraph, as well as Lex Fridman. I watched all those in full. It was the Lex Fridman interview that kind of that pretty much put this and the Lex Fridman interview was where this particular claim, I actually don't know what word to use for that, but it was that interview that revealed him being his father being a white supremacist. I'll just quickly play it so that you guys can see. Okay.
Man in the United States, and over time, my father became a white supremacist. And I cannot tell you the amount of times as a young boy that my father would sit me down and lecture me for hours and hours and hours about his ideas of America, of prejudice, of white supremacy. And thank God for my sister, who said, don't listen to a thing he says, he's out of his mind. And even though I was young, I knew everything he was saying was against people, and I loved people. I had so many wonderful friends. My best friend, Mike, who's still my close friend to this day, I was afraid to bring him to my house because I was afraid that my father would find out he was Jewish, or that my father would leave his office door open and someone would see his Nazi flag or his pictures of Hitler or Nazi books, or what he might say. So when I found theater in the 8th grade, and debate club, and choir, and festivals, and plays, and everything I could do to participate in that wouldn't make me have to come back home, I did. And I've had to reconcile who they because the gap between that man who was in the U.S. Army as a medic and the man he became, I could never fill that gap. But I've forgiven him.
Now, in regards, okay, it has to be. Wait, did you guys actually hear that? You guys heard what he said, right? Okay, please tell me that you guys actually heard what he said. Please tell me. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, cool. You guys actually did hear. Okay, I thought I made another blunder. My bad. Okay, but the reason why I went there to kind of is because that's the type of environment that he grew up in, and that can influence how you perceive the world. And from what I've seen here, he has not leaned to those ideals. He actually has denied this, as well as also he had people around him that I was saying, it's not I don't think his entire family agreed. But so for this particular stream, this is going to be more of a what if kind of stance. It is to kind of put how do I say this? Because I want to put to one side the fact that he has been acquitted in three different courts, and also in one of the courts is in a different country or jurisdiction, if you want to be more specific. Like, so already, if you want to say, okay, he's got multiple accusers, then also at the same time, you have to be fair and be like, well, he's been to court multiple times and also done that, and also not seen prison. And the truth is, there is a tweet that I'm gonna pull up now, actually, that kind of also made my perception of how to approach this, because I've been wondering for the ages, how do I approach this particular topic and discuss this particular topic, and for objectively, because personally speaking, everything that I do on this channel is with the idea that I know that the court of public opinion is kind of on a free reign right now. No one really controls it. No one has ever controlled. You can't control this discourse. You can influence it. I think that's all anyone can do, but discourse is on its own. And we are deluding ourselves if we actually believe there is due process in the courts of public opinion. There is no due process. Perceptions is what kind of rules that realm. And I think in the interview with Piers Morgan, he did say it best, the way that he approached the Anthony Rapp situation and the way that he chose to handle that situation has pretty much changed his perception. But even though I do see what Piers Morgan is trying to say, I also at the same time believe that he pretty much had no recourse of, he pretty much had no other way to navigate, because there were so many accusers that followed after Anthony Rapp came out with his one. There was, according to the articles according to Business Insider, there was at least 16 accusers. Vox claims that it was 40 or more. So I'm not trying to deny the number of accusers, etc. I'm just saying, from what I'm reading, there's a lot of people. And the question that has always come up is, well, how much rope can you really give a guy? And when I say guy, it's gender neutral. It just means everyone in my eyes. How much rope can you give a person? Let me just put it like that. How much rope can you actually give a person before you can actually say, you know what, enough is enough. This is way too much. I can see how some people who say 10 is a lot of people, or 8, or even 3, I can see why. Because if they're all coming with different stories, then yeah, they can't have all conspire together and do all this. And credit to Kevin Spacey, he has actually taken, I don't know, I'm not gonna say accountability, but he has actually owned up to some of the bad behaviors he was exhibiting when he was young. I don't know whether that means, yes, I'm guilty of these things or not. But the point is, the reason why I went on this whole tangent is basically, I do my best to at least keep a balanced viewpoint. I do my best to at least respect the due process that we currently do have, the system that we currently do have, because I am a fan of it. Does it get around 100% of the time? No, of course not. I don't think anything human beings has ever created has been 100%. That said, it can get it wrong, and I'm gonna be exploring this later on. But I said all of that to basically say, this is why I want to do this objective session and just look at what we can learn from this, because the behaviors that what Kevin was mainly open to could give us an idea of why he is what he is saying, why he's even taking accountability or something like that. There is so much that can be revealed if we look at things in a different kind of angle, which is kind of what I'm doing today. So I'm going to go into this study in regards to the influence of being born before going into a study, I just want to, I just want to look into, the influence of being born into a white supremacist family and how that affects their children. And also, I'm going into some of the landmark cases or well-known stories of those that harbor white supremacy, those ideals, and what their home life is like what they have gone to be. Again, disclaimer, these are just a few people. I don't know if this is the entire people, you know what I mean? I don't know whether that's this encompasses all of them, but based on what I found, I think you can kind of, we can kind of work off some kind of sample to make this a bit more objective. Not saying that this is exactly what happened in Kevin's family or anything like that, but it's to basically just analyze the situation and go from there. So basically, there is a story about Richard Spencer, not that Richard Spencer that was my abuser, my wife, my abuser, Richard Spencer, that we've covered here, is actually a white nationalist. And it's funny because I came across this story by complete accident when I was researching Richard Spencer, ironically. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. The Guardian hasn't actually done any story on the actual Richard Spencer, but I didn't know how relevant it will become. That's how funny it is. I didn't know it would become relevant now, but here we are. So make sure that you hit that like button if you like what you're seeing so far. Use the chat. Let me know how you're feeling, and also don't forget to hit that share button and share it on your different socials. It will be very much appreciated. It will really appease the algorithm monster that has been eating up all of everything I put out. So pour ketchup on that like button. Right, so it says here, let me go here. Okay. 1 second. Oh, wait, let me share it. Okay. Oh. Damn it. When am I ever going to learn? All right, okay, cool. I think that's it. All right, so it should have. Okay. Right, so in regards to this case, is okay. Apologies for that. Oh gosh, I'm just trying to get this right. Okay, cool. In regards to this case, is let's just read on. It says it's accused of physical abuse by his wife. Let me just delete that. The wife of white nationalist Richard Spencer has accused him of emotional and physical abuse, including choking her, dragging her by hair, and attempting to punch her while she was pregnant. According to divorce filings in Flathead County in Montana, I believe this is in America. Spencer called his wife allegations of abuse a wild mischaracterization of who I am, and said he would not comment on the specific allegations. I'm not going to be engaging with the with specifics, he told The Guardian. I am already inferring a lot by the way he has denied the. I don't even think this is a denial, because I think The Guardian are right to put down. He says he's called it, because that's what it is. I'm not seeing a denial. So, but anyway, moving on. So it goes into how he became who he is, but I really want to go here. He says in the divorce filings, his wife argued that Spencer's abusive behavior, drinking, and white nationalist political activism put their children at risk. Most, if not all, Spencer's public speaking events end in violence, his wife noted. Kuplianova, oh gosh, I hope I pronounced that right. Okay, who has her own ties to the Russian far right, has previously defended Spencer and his views. So this was a both parents kind of understanding of having these type of views. In December 2016, the month after Hail Trump, the month after Hail Trump event, let me just had to shut something down. My boomer self. Okay, cool. Spencer's prominence has sparked. Okay, so that, no, I don't need that. I want to go here. Okay, so there we go. In divorce filing, she suggested that Spencer, a believer in traditional marriage and traditional gender roles, had sometimes failed to provide for his family and care for her and their children, as well as engaging in physical violence and verbally abusing her in front of their children. Last year, after she returned from hospital after the birth of their second child, Spencer left alone without any help to care for the newborn and their toddler, his wife alleged. During their marriage, the white nationalist leader told her to use her own savings to pay for groceries, saying that his money was for the cause. So immediately there, you can already see how he is exhibiting signs of emotional abuse and also coercive control there, because really and truly, I mean, let's just take it on, right? Let's just take it on. Like, he has effectively, I mean, you can even argue, maybe, I don't want to argue that, but you can maybe make the argument to say that he himself has actually roped her into this life to believe this ideology, etc. You can make that argument and say that. And now he has got that. He is now using that to get out of his responsibilities as a father, and also the man of the house, based on their belief. So based on that, already you can see how abusive the situation is. So sorry, just sorting some things out. So let me go back to the article. He also failed to pay water, internet, electricity, and cell phone bills to make payments, causing their insurance to lapse 3 times, including one sure thing. So, but again, moving on, he says Spencer has notably increased his alcohol intake in recent years, which contributes to his aggressive behavior and reduced impulse control. During their video chats, he would sometimes be holding a bottle of their liquor early in the afternoon, she claimed. Now, when I'm reading this article, it would make sense why he actually is saying that he's probably being mischaracterized, because, and he's not denying anything. I mean, I'm reading an article, not the actual documents, but I'm assuming he's seen the documents and he's like, no, there's more to this. But the behaviors exhibiting here, and the reason why I highlight that is because, to me, it seems like this behavior, or at least his behavior, is violence, or etc. in alleged violence. Let me put it like that, because I don't know the outcome of this case. Is alleged violence has probably been so normalized in the house that he is not, unless he has denied it, but the Guardian is just refusing to print it, which I don't think they would, but which I don't think they would in case of, obviously, like, you know, if he sues them, it's a slam dunk, you know, lose. But the point is, there is no denial, because he's saying it's a mischaracterization. It would seem that the mischaracterization would be the fact that she is, you know, going against his ideology. Well, his manhood, so to speak. It's manhood, basically, in the fact that he believes in the traditional roles that they have set up for them, for the marriage, etc. So if that's it's a wild jump speculation, but I think that would be the most probable thing, that he's actually saying, oh, these are wild mischaracterizations, because it seems like he's like trying to say no, she's getting the wrong end of the stick in regards to the providing for the children. So before I go on to the next part, because I'm just establishing the kind of what this household would look like, that's all I'm doing. I'm just establishing that. I'm not saying that's what happened with Kevin Spacey. So I'm gonna show a bit more of the people that believes in this. So but yeah, so hit the like button if you're liking it. Let me go to a chat and say hi. Laura B says, bad thing, my parents told me to appreciate all races. Yeah, of course, including mine. Except the only thing I would say my parents did different, that was a bit different, and it was kind of in response to the times. It was just be careful how you move around white people. You know, it was just, you know, be cool with them, don't discriminate, etc. They actually did say this. It was just, but there's still a prejudice, so you kind of have to be on your best behavior, you know, those kind of things. This was in 2001, 2002, so it's a completely different time to what we see now. It'll be interesting if we could do it all over again to see if they would actually still advise the same thing. That would be interesting, but I would say, yeah, this is the same thing. Welcome, Nom de Plume. Thank you so much for joining. He says, wasn't it his father that was the white supremacist and Nazi supporter? Yes, of course. He was quite scathing about his father's beliefs and behavior. Yes, he was. On that interview, he was. And yeah, I do want to make that clear. This is all on his father. This is not Kevin in any way. I'm just trying to, again, establish what house he was probably growing up in. I have no idea. One thing that did come up in one thing that did kind of stick out in the interview was how it was just how I don't think he mentioned his mother, right? I don't think he mentioned his mother. I didn't see it hear it in all the interviews, but maybe he mentioned her in the Piers Morgan interview, but I didn't hear it in the other interviews. The Lex Fridman interview, he was more of discussing his movies, career, and little time spent on the allegations. And it was in that time he was spending on allegations, I believe, it was when this came out, before he head off into the allegation in regards to the white supremacy. But that was what. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to what I was doing, the establishing the motive. Can I say motive? Establishing what is familial life would look like. So this was Richard Spencer. The next particular, let me get it up. Damn it. The next one is the story of, again, these are extreme stories, but of course the stories that would make it onto the media would be, of course, the extremists, the people that are kind of extreme. So I don't believe I don't believe the next subject that I am going to be looking at has a child or had a family. But if they did, I'll be very worried, because what this is just gruesome. But it's just to show some of the dangers of having this ideology. So this is the case, not the case. This is Nathan Larson, and he was this is from 2018 when he announced he was running for Congress. Spoilers, he was only running for like 3 months, but basically he lives with his parents and spent most of his waking hours on the internet between intermittent work as an accountant. So basically he was a pretty much mundane, boring kind of guy. He believes in instituting a patriarchal system with women under the authority of men. He supports abolishing age restrictions for marriage and laws against marital. Oh, we're off to a great start, aren't we? Oh gosh. He believes that white supremacy is a system that works, that Hitler was a good thing for Germany, and that incest should be legalized, at least in the context of marriage. And at one point, in a conversation with the Post. He spoke with the Washington Post. He seemed to express admiration for the system run by Taliban in Afghanistan, noting that the country's birth rate fell as a consequence of increasing opportunities for women across after the United States' more than decade-long intervention. That's just wild. That's just wild. But Larson, 37 years of age and living with his parents, is hoping to take his views towards the mainstream by mounting a campaign for a congressional seat in Virginia, running as an independent libertarian for the state's 10th district as a swath of land across 3 counties in Northern Virginia. I didn't even know that people with these views were libertarian. Well, they probably are not, but I think it's probably the only one that ran as this. So Larson's campaign. Okay, let me hold up. Okay, yeah. Bill Redpath, a Libertarian Party official, told the Post, which is the Washington Post, that Larson was expelled from the Libertarian Party of Virginia last year. Last year, with 2017, he ran, I believe, in 2016 or something like that. Larson's campaign, which is his latest run after failed campaigns for Virginia's governorship and state legislature, has drawn attention from Larson's unabashedly extreme views. I think that's that's the one. Okay, this is the part I was looking for. Larson said he considers himself to be part of the incel movement. Why are you owning this? And said his views took a turn. And said his views took a turn for the more extreme after an acrimonious divorce. So he was married. In 2015, his former wife was granted a restraining order against him after Larson returned to Virginia. You're seeing a pattern here, right? Where he grew up from Colorado. And though his ex-wife later committed unaliving herself, rest in peace, I have no idea why she did that. A custody battle unfolded for a child of his that she gave birth to after they split up. According to local media accounts, the El Paso County attorney at the time, Robert Kern, argued successfully that Larson would not be a fit parent. Gee, of course you think? Yeah. He also, Larson only met his daughter once during a supervised visit with a social worker. Of course, you best have the SWAT team ready as well. Larson also has a criminal record. In 2019, he pleaded guilty to threatening to kill the U.S. president. I believe that's treason. I don't know. I don't know. For which he served 16 months in federal prison and 3 years of supervision upon his release. I think that's it. So that's not the end of Larson's story, though, because it does get. If you think that's bad, okay. It's worse because in 2020, this was what was found in regards to Larson. Let's get it up there. Fox News reported, Fox Washington DC, by the way, reported. 1 second. California authorities rescue girl 12 years of age from pedophile who once ran for Congress in Virginia. Obviously, if I didn't spoil that it was Larson, I would have just asked you to guess who it was. A 12-year-old California girl has been rescued after the authorities say that she was adopted by a man who is admitted pedophile and went to prison for more than a year for threatening to kill. Yeah, we've been through that. Larson threw the girl. Oh God, I can't be reading this. Of authorities in Fresno County scheduled a conference, local time. Nathan Larson, 40. So 3 years after the article we just read, he committed this act in an alleged adoption. Larson threw the girl online and then flew from his home in Virginia to Fresno in order to adopt her. Police got wind and were able to arrest Larson on a layover in Denver and rescue the girl. Online records. This is the wild part. Online records show that Larson was jailed in Denver on an out-of-state fugitive warrant charging him with harboring a minor. Nathan generated national headlines in 2018. I think we read that already. Not gonna go through it. Yeah, not gonna go through it. But I think it says. No, that's not it. Yeah, that's the one here. So this is the part that I want here. This one goes into a bit more detail of what we read if it wasn't clear before. So it says the paper reported in a hate-filled stream of consciousness campaign manifesto. Larson described himself as a fan of Adolf Hitler, we know, and he said he wanted to restore benevolent white supremacy, rebuild a patriarchy, eliminate child labor laws, and legalize early marriage. He has advocated for the legalization of incest and child porn. Corn. I said corn. Don't want to get demonetized. I am writing to inform. Okay. That's all. So the girl was fortunately rescued before he could do anything. And after that he was serving prison, but now he is dead. Newsweek reported that in January 2023 that the pedophilia advocate has died of self-starvation in jail, according to the coroner. He was only 41. He was 41 when he died in September 18th, 2022, in a prison facility in Arizona after receiving medical care. He was, as we just read, held in jail on felony charges for soliciting child pornography as well as other offenses, which must be harboring a minor as well, because of the adoption, all those things. He refused for food and water. We don't really need to go anymore, but the reason why I went there was to, again, these are the mentality of the people. We've read in regards to Richard Spencer how their home life would be like. We've kind of got a snippet of that in just forgot his name again. That starvation guy, I just forgot his name. It's not important. Larson, that's the one. It's not important anyway. But yeah, in regards to him, we got a bit of a home life, and he doesn't seem that great. I mean, I don't know why his ex-partner committed suicide, but she did get a restraining order, and she also did at the same time, give birth, and the daughter. I hope the daughter is in a better place, because it's most likely that she is in the system now. So, maybe she's adopted. I have no idea, but it doesn't look healthy. I have not read good reports. I don't think you would read good reports, because the society is, there is a negative perception of white supremacists on all those things. So getting a story or that is uplifting or anything like that would be very rare. So I do believe you can believe in anything you want. You're not free of its consequences, and this is one of those consequences, because if your views are so outlandish that everyone doesn't agree with, most of society does not really agree with you, I don't know, but it doesn't look like it encourages the most healthy of us. So let me just go to the chat quickly. Make sure you like this stream, and as well as share this stream if you haven't already. I appreciate everyone that's using the chat. I also appreciate you lurkers, and if you're watching this back on replay, thank you so much for tuning in and giving us your time. So I'm gonna get he does mention his mother. He was close to her, deeply religious, died of brain tumor just before the accusation started. Oh damn. Okay, I did not. I probably missed this. Okay, thank you for that correction, Nom de Plume. If possible, let me know where, so that I can correct the record on the stream. But I appreciate this insight. That's damn. So I would have liked to know if he expounded more into her life. I believe the deeply religious one kind of does paint a picture about her, but yeah, that didn't come up. I mean, I didn't have anything in my notes that would resemble that, but everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has an oversight, but I appreciate you for giving us that that correction there. I appreciate that. Thank you. But to go back into the articles, says here, children of extremist parents, insights from a specialized clinical team. This is Rousseau et al. Cecile Rousseau, and I believe it was done in Montreal. The background is data on children who grow with parents adhering to violent extremism is scant. What does that word mean? Sorry, I'm gonna have to go on a little tangent here. Define scant. Barely sufficient or adequate. Okay, fair enough. Provide grudgingly or insufficient. I don't think that's what it means here, but okay. Barely sufficient. Okay, so it says here data on true. Okay, so it says extremism is barely sufficient or it's not widely available. Basically, this makes it extremely delicate to inform policies. This makes it extremely delicate to inform policies and clinical services to protect such children from potential physical and psychological harm. Psychological harm. Sorry. Wow, wake up. This paper explores the predicament of children whose caretakers were referred to a specialized clinical team in Montreal, Canada, because of concerns about risk or actual involvement in the extreme processes. And this paper used a mix of methods, concurrent triangulation design. Quantitative data was obtained through a file review 2016 to 2020. This report actually is published in April 2024, and it was published online last year, August 4th. So it's it's quite recent. It's very recent. So the result of the paper shows clinicians reported the presence of stereotypes in the health and social services network frequently represent religious extremist parents as potentially dangerous or having inappropriate parenting skills, while minimizing the perception of risk for parents adhering to political extremism. Basically, meaning they don't really try to investigate why they have gone to this or the risk of their exposure to these things, but mainly and truly, it's just based on the stereotype. Basically, is that they are just potentially dangerous or having inappropriate parenting skills, and that they're not fit enough to be parents. When I read that, it's basically suggesting that they are there's already a forethought or prejudice, for a lack of better words, to these people, that they cannot dig in further to see how they got there. In the context of what I'm reading, that's what he's trying to say, that they cannot dig into why their parents believe what they believe in, but because of the stereotype and its prevalence, so they're quite limited. Basically, children displayed high levels of psychological distress, mainly related to family separation, parental psychopathology, and conflicts of loyalty stemming from familial or social alienation. I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to go straight to the results, because again, there's so many other things that I want to talk about on this stream. So do bear with me. So this is the table of results in regards to all of that. I'm going to go straight to where the scientists actually broke down the qualitative and the quantitative results of this. I'm not going to read the qualitative, sorry. But I am going to read the quantitative result. It says, in total, 23 out of 160 files met the inclusion criteria, which is 14%. So basically, out of all the files, they were, the criteria that they're set up to make this study a lot more reliable and rigorous, only 23 met. So it's not the largest sample size, but you work with what you receive. Children mean age was 7.5. 3 to 17. So on average, it was the age 8 years old, basically, where they were 43% of them were boys and 57% were women, girls. With regards to parents' extremism, 14 were referred for religious extremism, and 9 for other forms of extremism ranging from extreme right, white supremacist, masculinist, and conspirationist. I wish I know what these. I know what masculinist mean. I don't know what conspirationist. Let me actually look that up quickly. Bear with me 1 second. I'm learning. So we're all learning together. I'm learning something new. So if there is something that you let me know, and then we can conspiracy theories. Oh, why? How that seems so obvious. I should have known that, to be honest. Okay, a conspiracy theorist. Okay, among 20, that's an extremist. Can they have extreme view? I've never heard of it. Fair enough. Never heard of it. Okay. Among these 23 children, 10 became clinically engaged because of a legal child protection prescription, all which had parents presenting religious extremism. In 4 cases, support was provided to the extended families of foreign fighters' children without direct contact with the parents and the children themselves. Moving on, parental diagnosis was available for 17 parents. This is the most important part. Who sometimes revealed multiple diagnoses. Most common diagnoses among parents were personality disorders such as BPD and narcissistic. There's a lot of dispute in regards to how this passes on, if this even passes on. So I've heard, I will revisit this later, but that is quite revealing. That 17 of the parents, remember, it's 23 studies, so that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people even in this small sample size. So 23 children. I don't know whether all these children all come from the same. Sorry, whether there will be more than one child in the household. I don't know, but from what I've seen, 17 parents of 23 children. It's quite a lot. Psychosis. I feel attacked here. Psychosis, delusional or affective. I feel so attacked. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CTPSD, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So complex traumatic stress disorder is more of like childhood that you've grown up with. Post-PTSD is something that I guess you can. I don't know if I'm characterizing it properly, so I won't do that here because it's quite sensitive. But there is an interview that I done with Martin Seeger who broke this down to a T. So you can go watch that on the channel. But he broke down PTSD and as well as CPTSD. Diagnosis was available for 10 children with a predominance of stress-related disorder, anxiety, adjustment disorder, and PTSD, and attachment disorders. Attachment disorders would be, for children, that would be, can I call it, like, the attachment style theory, secure, all of those things. I'm not too sure. It will fall under that, but I'm not too sure exactly of the disorders that will come out with that. That was an oversight in my research. I will apologize for that. I did not expound more into that. Written down, note it for the future. Right, moving on. Engagement. Moving on. Oh gosh, that's not it. Hold on a second. Right. Okay. Got it. All right. Going back up. Just need to find this. This, I think, is here. There's a lot here, so I'm just trying to. I'm not gonna read all of this. Just there's a part that I want. Right. Okay, so there's two parts that I want. There's one more down by here, but it says, according to the clinicians, the parents. Hold up, sorry about that. According to the clinicians, the parents would often oscillate between contrasting positions, change. Sometimes they would adopt a submissive stance, trying to conform or to seduce the clinicians, which makes sense because of the whole BPD and narcissistic disorder thing, by portraying themselves as helpless victims. In other moments, they express anger, voiced that they felt they were being unfairly treated, and oppose any other form for their children, which is speech therapy. So they didn't want their children to be subjected to this kind of test, maybe because they felt like it would reveal a lot about them. Other parents would avoid many clinical encounters by forgetting and repeatedly cancelling the appointments. Finally, two parents would invest positively the therapeutic setting and use it to comfort a power position toward other parents, which they would accuse of being more radicalized. So basically bargaining, in my opinion. I think it's here. No. That's the one. Perceived consequences of parental extremism in terms of consequences of parental family situation for the child. Most clinicians emphasize both the salience of parentification and pseudo-maturity, and instances of regression in which the child would act in a very disruptive ways to attract adult attention. Risk-taking was quite prominent. A clinician felt that a child would consciously provoke him, boasting about adult content he would watch online, identifying through the pride of transgression to his parents. Another reported that a 9-year-old girl was posting sexual on social media and exhibiting promiscuous behaviors. 9. In some cases, contradictory identity issues were central. A mother gave a feminine name to her son, while telling him that he was the son of a deceased male war hero. Okay, the clinician reported that this very resilient boy tried to resolve the situation by using a masculine nickname and by giving a central role to a male figure in exam play sessions. Some of the children underwent periods of placement in foster families and sometimes separation from parents who fled overseas. So other clinicians observed that these placements often introduce even other forms of insecurity and disruption in the children's life. Overall sadness and sometimes death wishes were quite striking to clinicians. Some who felt that emotional deprivation, parents' unpredictability, and parental alienation were major stresses for many children, and that parental separation often aggravated attachment issues and psychological distress. So basically, growing up in this kind of household is not, if it hasn't been said, it's not really healthy. And on top of growing up in this kind of household, it can lead to delinquent behavior based on the story that we just read. Is this what happened in Spacey's family? Don't know. Again, it's not about Spacey. That's not why I went there to it's not him per se or trying to say it's him, but it's just to say, if he grew up like that and then these things are coming out of him and he doesn't know where the boundaries are, as he said in some of these interviews, he does not know where the boundaries are. For example, it becomes very easy to see why that could be the case. That's what I'm basically trying to show a bit of understanding to why he may act the way he acts. I'm not saying he is these things. I'm not saying that he did these things, because like I said, I'm trying to balance so many things. I'm trying to, at the same time, I'm trying to respect the fact that he has been found guilty of, not guilty, freedom slip. I'm trying to respect the fact that 3 courts have found him not guilty, but at the same time, I also want to be critical of him, because because it's very easy for someone who was it's very easy for someone who has, you know, done a crime to continue doing a crime because they were continue doing a crime a bit better. Can I say a bit better? I'm not too sure how to basically say that, but it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to see someone that has committed or done something, they get exonerated, and then they find more ways to do it a lot better. You know, that is sometimes a defect. I mean, the defect of the system, because the system, you know, it does have this rule, which I do agree with. It is better to let 5p of 10 or whatever arbitrary number you want to put there go free. Those that are guilty, it's better to let them go free than to let one innocent person go to prison. Of course, that, you know, the innocence is based on the people that are there to judge. And in this particular interview, something interesting basically come up in the interview with let me put it up. In the interview with the Telegraph, which I actually think that this was probably the best one, because she asked really tough questions. She was really fair in her questioning as well. In her responses, she gave him the time to express himself, etc. And the questions that it was tough, and his responses was quite interesting. And let me go to it here. Because it's in the 15th minute. I got it right here, because she asked a question about power dynamics, and this is something that I noticed that was a bit. It took me off a bit, and I'll explain why. 1 second.
Just saying.
Let me go back a little bit.
There was Brechter who, in any way, you conducted myself. I would think that if I had been promising people, well, you that.
Okay. Let me go here.
Unbelievably fortunate and.
Kevin, I'm interested in the power dynamic at play in these accusations, because as a Hollywood star, double Oscar winner, how aware were you that you exerted, a powerful hold and a fascination for these guys? Some of them call themselves, I was just a nobody. And was there no part of you that ever chose to exploit that power?
I'm a kid from South Orange, New Jersey, who was raised in Southern California in very, very.
Oh shoot! Sorry.
More than modest.
I forgot to share it. Let me just share the screen now so that you guys can see. Damn, that was a blunder. Okay, now we got it up. Let's continue on with that.
Surroundings. In fact, my father was unemployed so often that by the time I think I was 10, we'd moved about 8 times. I came from nothing, and I have not spent my life looking at myself the way other people see me. I look at myself as unbelievably fortunate and incredibly lucky to have had people believe in me when I started out, and to have been given the opportunities that I've had. And there's power dynamics in every relationship, but in the way that I conducted myself, I would think that if I had been promising people, well, if you come into my trailer, I'm gonna give you a part in a show, or I'll give you an audition, I never in any way used the position I was in as a quid pro quo. Doesn't mean I didn't believe in people, doesn't mean I didn't support people, doesn't mean I didn't recommend people to a director who I believed in, but there was no price to pay. There was no quid pro quo. Absolutely not. Now, it appears when I hear about what some of the accusers are saying, that in their own minds, they thought because I'd had a 15-minute conversation with them, or got stoned with them, or had a drink with them, that I was now going to be their mentor, which is not what was occurring. And I also think mentorship is something that's very serious. I've been very fortunate to have some mentors in my life, and I've certainly mentored people myself, but not every person I meet, just because I'm asking them questions and because I happen to be an actor and a famous one, means that I'm making a promise that I'm going to their way into the industry and they're going to have a career just because I paid attention to them. It's just not what was happening.
Are you honestly saying that there is no point in which you get the fame you had and where you don't flex that power in some way?
Yeah, in the tiniest ways. You know, it's like, oh, you can get a good table at a restaurant and you can get, you know, a nice airline seat. And, you know, I mean, people treat you very well. And I'm not an idiot. I know when I walk into a room, people see me and it may well change the way they react to me. But I've not spent my life trying to take advantage of people because of the position I've been in. I've been incredibly fortunate, and I've tried to be able to spread that and put a spotlight on other people and help them in their lives.
Okay, so I want to go back to because you might not have heard it because of the volume issue, but it was here.
What some of the accusers are saying, that in their own minds, they thought because I'd had a 15-minute conversation with them or got stoned with them or had a drink with them, that I was now going to be their mentor, which is not what was occurring. And I also think mentorship is something that's very serious. Quid pro quo.
That's the one. Okay. So right here is what kind of stuck out to me. But apologies if you didn't hear it earlier. But it's when he said,
doesn't mean I didn't support people. Doesn't mean I didn't recommend people to a director who I believed in. But there was no price to pay. There was no quid pro quo.
Okay, so if you've noticed and if you've watched a lot of his interviews, again, I'm being very critical on because I believe I was very fair to him in the last stream. I'm being very, very critical. I hope I'm not nitpicking. I don't think I'm doing that. But I do believe that when he said that, it's quite interesting because he denies it flat out. He just said, no, that did not happen. But something I've noticed in all the other interviews is every time he goes into the court, you know, every time it comes to his accusations, he does not have this same. Well, some accusers he does, and I think I covered that in the previous interview. In the previous interview that he done with Dan Wootton, I did cover that he does vehemently deny some, you know, as strong as this. But for some reason, when it comes to Anthony Rapp and some of the other accusers, you find them using the legal system to kind of illustrate that no, he's not guilty of this particular thing or innocent. You know, he's innocent in this particular thing. And the reason why I went here is because two things can be very true, right? Two things can be very true. It can be very true that you have been hard done by, and you know you have been. It can be very true, but at the same time, it can also be very true that you are using something to insulate yourself from, like, for example, how you look at Amber Heard, for example, how she used the Me Too movement to insulate and kind of propelled her accusations. Because every time I mention this, some people will come at me and say the Me Too movement was not around in 2016. No. If you were in that circle, you would know about what the Me Too movement was. And Amber Heard had that. She was doing a lot of work in, you know, before she, you know, got there. She already had the contacts. She already had the people. It was pretty much fast-tracked the minute she made the accusations against them. But the point I'm making is, it is very possible in his situation that, yeah, like that some people may, I'm not saying there is nothing here that is, you know, there is nothing here that is conclusive. Some people may have been, you know, lying, etc., like one or two or three, I don't know how many. But it's also true that some of them are not lying. And I think just by looking at his, you know, his denial here is kind of a big tell. Because when we go into the next one, especially here, let me go into it. It was bringing back it was talking about double standards and how he has been found not not guilty in 3 different courts. Let's go. Let's watch.
Yeah, so I'm interested in comparisons, really. So in 2020, a High Court ruled that Johnny Depp had subjected his wife to domestic abuse on 12 separate occasions. Yet Johnny Depp appears to be not cancelled and not hounded in the way that Kevin Spacey, who was found not guilty, is cancelled and still unable to work. Kevin, are there any double standards at play here? And do you think there is any element of homophobia because you were involved with guys, not women?
Okay, so before he answers that question, I'm gonna be fair here. I think she's asking it because of the fact that is in the UK. The Telegraph. This is a Telegraph interview for full context. So this is in the UK. I'll be fair. I think she's just asking that because of the UK context. But we know what happened in that case because she. I forgot to say as well. I forgot to say as well. It is also very possible that the people that commit that are abusive, because we know that Amber Heard is an abuser. They can use the legal system against you. You might ask, oh, how can she be using the legal system if she was defending herself within the system? Very simple. When you perjure yourself, that is actually using the system. Whether you like it or not, we also can see the media play that she was doing as well to try and use the courts to bolster her claims, despite it coming out in the US case of so many things that she denied in the UK case. She denied it, but it came out in the US case. Answer change, flipped immediately. Oh, I forgot so many things, so many claims that she was making in the UK as well that was unverified. But I wanted to use that to show how the legal system can be used against someone. And it turned out that in the UK, someone believed our lies, because you can go through all of it and tally up to what you saw in the US case and be like, first and foremost, the US case actually had a lot more evidence come in, to actually evaluate. There was a lot more for the jury to work with, and it was a jury of 7 people, not just one person. So these things has to be considered. But I went through all of that to basically say, just because you are believed in one jurisdiction does not mean that in another jurisdiction, it's like that. But the unique part about this is Kevin has 3 different jurisdictions that they all believe them. So what I'm trying, again, like I said, what I'm trying to basically do is actually to try and strike a balance, because we have to respect that. We have to respect the fact that 3 different courts all just, and there is let's just, before I get ahead of myself again, let's just listen to this answer that Kevin gave in regards to the double standards.
First of all, I like Johnny Depp, and I'm glad that he's being given a path back. I think he's a wonderful actor, and I've been sorry to see what happened. I think he also won a significant case in the United States, and I think that probably has something to do with it as well. I mean, with respect to whether there's a double standard, I think that's really best for other people to look at. I do think that there are behaviors that I have done that I know, pursuing something you're interested in, that I know heterosexual men do, and I'm not going to mention any of them, but we certainly know that there are quite a number of men who are well known who threw out legendary Lotharios. And yet, if I have done something that has been similar, it's inappropriate. I'm not saying I haven't been inappropriate, but everything is sort of deemed that way, and that's just not how I've lived my life. But I have, at times, done things I won't ever do again.
Do you?
Okay, so again, he's going in there to, like, you can easily make the argument that he's just using his sexuality here as well as the courts to basically get himself out. But like I said, the opposite can be true. Like I said, for Amber Heard, her using the court, and you're like, okay, but how? She was the defendant. Same thing as Spacey. He was also defendant, but he can also use the court. Anything is possible with abusers. But again, balance and checks. Like I expressed, balance and checks. Three courts can, three courts finding it. And something that I saw today, before going to the Piers Morgan interview, because something stuck out to me there, before going to that, there was a tweet made by a friend of the channel, who goes by the name of Izzy. She has, I've done a stream with her, as well as, a couple of I've done a stream with her, as well as a show in regards to Drake Bell allegations, and she basically says this. So it says here, Kevin Spacey wasn't convicted of any crimes. He has a right to move on with his life. He's a talented actor, arguably one of the best. So if that's how he chooses to spend his time, let's see what more he has to offer the world. You don't have to be a fan. So I think what he was basically saying, he says that, he's basically going through what Colin Rugg wrote. And what she says here is kind of, again, it kind of gave me a different perspective, because she says here, see, this ish makes me realize that if Brian Peck hadn't been caught on tape admitting his crimes, again, when you look, the position exists, because then you have to look at Amber Heard as well. Because if Amber Heard wasn't caught on tape as well, Johnny would have been out. He wouldn't have been convicted either. And people would be on Twitter saying ish like this about that psycho too. This world is effing scary sometimes. And that's a valid point. That's a very valid point. And again, like I'm saying, are there behaviors that could have been transferred from childhood onto, that from the household is growing up? Again, I don't know whether his parents or his dad even fits into the profile of the people that I just read. It doesn't seem like it, but the views were still there. So did he adopt some kind of unintentionally get some behaviors that is now, that he can, because he have played a lot of, like the roles that he's played is very challenging. It's very mind bending. Like, how is he channeling for these roles? What is, like, things. I don't want to go down that realm because it's too much. It's too speculative. But this is a great point that Izzy has made. I cannot look away from it because it's very factual. Some things, like Johnny Depp being able to get the tape that he was able to get to even bring it against Amber Heard, that's what turned the tide for him. And where the judge, and we know what the judge made of that tape. He put it to one side. He said, no, I'm not going to regard the admissions that she made in this tape. I'm just going to go by the other evidence that's available, the text messages, all those things. He didn't even say that. He said he was going to, that she was going to go for her court testimony because it will be under oath. And, he basically went by the book, when we know that sometimes they don't, people don't care about their oath. People don't care. They'll perjure themselves, as we've come to learn. But the point is, I see where she's coming from. So yes, I do respect the legal system. Yes, but at the same time, if you're being dragged kicking and screaming into the legal system, and and there is not enough proof, can be hard. But even when I say that, I know a lot more cases as well to also put up the contrast and say, look, Masterson didn't really have much. I think only one of the accusers had something that I could say, okay, this is very, very reliable. And that was the fact that there was a police report from 2004 from one of his accusers to go off. And, for the jury to work with, saying, oh, wow, she actually did try. And they used that police report as well. There is also, for that, what I'm trying to say is that particular case relied heavily on just testimony, just direct testimony and cross-examination. That's all it relied. That's what mostly it relied on, as well as other evidence that was provided that could give a picture. But sometimes most cases don't have that. Especially in the case of Anthony Rapp, he could have easily won that case because it's a civil case. The standard is way lower than reasonable doubt. But again, like I said, Masterson exists. So I'm trying to be fair, is what I'm trying to say. Because when you look at Spacey, I do believe if someone has been through, I do believe this though, if someone has been through cases after cases after cases and one of them, I think it's fair to say that they do deserve to get out of it. You know what I mean? How many more times do you kind of want? I can see that as well, which leads me to my next point. Let me go to it. Yeah, to the next part in regards to Piers Morgan. Let me just load it up. Okay. And I think this part right here is where, again, it kind of caught me off guard. Let's just go into it. Okay. Let me share the screen 1 second. Okay. Right.
Then your next few years could have been, again, when I look back for you. But it also, to me, again, when I look back at the statement you made, if you just hadn't made that statement and the way you made it, then your next few years could have been very different. I'm not saying they would have been,
Sure.
but they could have been.
I accept that it was a poorly thought through statement. But again, I hope the fact that I'm not guilty of what I was accused of.
I will comment on that quickly. I'll comment on that in a bit.
Will at least in hindsight make people understand why I might have made it. And I also just would...
You see what I mean? While I said that, I know it sounds nitpicking, but it's... You vehemently denied... I actually believe in when he vehemently denied I've never actually done that, because he seems like someone that strikes me that does take his work very seriously. It seems like someone that does value that a lot. So... And that's why I believe his denial in regards to, no, I've never even done quid pro quo. We heard it. But for some reason, when it comes to Anthony Rapp and some of these accusers, he's going back to the legal system. I'm not guilty. Why wouldn't he just say, I didn't do it? I get it. He should have come easy is what I'm trying to say, because he came easy for him in the previous interview with the Telegraph. So, if you want to call it nitpicky, you can call it nitpicky. But this next part, I'm not going to. It's definitely not nitpicky, because there's a massive change in verbiage.
Add that I hope that someday Anthony Rapp can accept that he had a faulty memory. That's what I would like to believe.
Have you had any
happened.
contact with him?
I have had no contact with him. But I would like to believe that at some point he'll recognize that with all the evidence that we presented at trial, which is why we were able to have the outcome that we did, that he will look back on this and say that his memory was faulty. And I think if he did that, that would go a long way to, I think, heal himself and also be healing for me.
One of the key reasons that I think it led to such an emphatic decision by the jury was John Barrowman, an actor well known in the UK.
We went through this.
Stepped forward for you. He was about 19 at the time, I think, and he was there at the same time.
Yes.
And he was emphatic that this just didn't happen.
Well, he was emphatic about the fact that really the foundation for Anthony's claim was that he had gone to a party that I had thrown where he had escaped into a bedroom, and that later I came into that bedroom and swayed in a doorway. Well, I had no bedroom, there was no doorway, there was no party, and the only time that he was in my apartment was with John Barrowman after we had had dinner together and they wanted to come and meet my dog. So again, I think there must be reasons why this happened, and I'm trying as best I can in a lot of these cases to seek understanding and not judgment. My best friend in this world and manager, Evan Lowenstein, has worked very hard with me over these years to try to help me get to a place where I come out the other side of this, not bitter, not angry, not revengeful, but more compassionate, having more empathy, more understanding, being more present, and working on myself in all the ways that I have over
What
these
was
last
going
7
through
years.
your head when this all was going down in the first few days? Because you were,
I think I missed
you're
it.
double Oscar winner, star of one of the biggest shows on television.
No, I missed it. I think I missed it. 1 second. Let me go back a little bit. I think it's here. I think I missed. Yeah, I missed it. Okay. Here.
And find you not guilty. And in closing arguments, your lawyer said that Rapp had made up the encounter and suggested reasons why he may have done it. It may be possible, she said, that Rapp invented it based on his experience performing in Precious Sons, a play in which actor Ed Harris picks up Rapp's character and lays on top of him, mistaking him briefly for his wife before discovering it's his son. They came back in just over an hour, and the court ordered Rapp, the accuser, to pay you £40,000. We have a check, I think, a picture of the check at the time. So it's an emphatic, clear victory for you. But it also, to me, again, when I look back at the statements you made, if you just hadn't made that statement in the way you made it, then your next few years could have been very different. I'm not saying they would have been,
Sure.
but they could have been.
I accept that it was a poorly thought through statement, and but again, I hope the fact that I'm not guilty of what I was accused of will, at least in hindsight, make people understand why I might have made it. And I also just would add that
That's it. Okay, I did miss it. Okay, so he says I made the statement as well as and this is poignant for me. The reason why I bring it up is because this was not what he was saying when he came out. He said, "Don't accept responsibility." He should not have said something that he's not, guilty of. He should not accept responsibility for something he's not guilty of, which is fine, But he basically was saying his publicist was the one that was responsible for it. So this took me kind of aback because I heard, I was like, wait a minute, what? But you just said your publicist was the one that released that statement, but now you're the one that made that statement. I also heard him say in this interview that he would have made other statements and I'm like, but you said your publicist was the one that was kind of holding your hand and putting this on you. So the things like this makes me like, sometimes you just gotta be like, okay, yeah, some people could have been lying on you, and some people could have been telling the truth, and you could have been just using your win to basically, change the narrative around you, using these 3 wins in one being in civil and 2 being in criminal court. You could as well be using it against to insulate yourself, basically. And I'm gonna go back to the interview because this is the part that and we'll close out on this one. Don't forget to like this if you're watching back on replay. if you're with us now and you haven't liked yet, make sure you like it. It really does help us out with the YouTube algorithm. But without further ado, let's continue.
Coverage about you and thinking that you must have been
Okay,
again, not emphatically.
All
You
right.
also trial you faced. You won that civil case emphatically. You also won the criminal case. You were found again not guilty. You know, when you mention Kevin Spacey's name, if they haven't seen any of the recent interviews you've done, you could be forgiven from a lot of the coverage about you in thinking that you must have been convicted. You know, you're not working. Your acting career has been frozen for 7 years. And yet you were found not guilty in a criminal court, and you were found not guilty in a civil court as well. Why have you been so emphatically cancelled, do you think?
There are no adults in the room, to some degree. I mean, look, I'm grateful to you and people like you who have. I'm not going to say you've supported me, but you definitely have supported the idea that has surrounded me of I wasn't offered a due process in sort of the public arena.
Well, you weren't. There's no question. You were found guilty by the court of public opinion, which happens so often to people in all different ways, some trivial, some serious. But I also believe just in fairness. You know, you were taken through the court process in a criminal trial and a civil trial, and you were found not guilty. And when that happens to people, a sort of ongoing prosecution, because people just want to nail you, strikes me as not very fair.
Well, I think that we have experienced this before in our history, and certainly my industry has experienced it before. And even though they promised they would never allow that to happen again, I'm talking now specifically about the blacklist, which was, you know, a lot of people talk about the Hollywood 10 and Dalton Trumbo, and we know about those people, but there were more than 479 people whose lives were largely destroyed by being accused of being communists. And the media was a partner in that. I mean, you go and, you know, there's an incredible book about Charlie Chaplin called Charlie Chaplin versus the United States of America.
Yeah.
And it is extraordinary. The number of columnists who were talking to the FBI, talking to Hoover, and then writing stories about people who, I mean, Lee Grant couldn't get a job for 12 years because she wouldn't testify against her husband in front of the House on Activities Committee on American. And so we've seen this before, and I think that I'm not an expert in this, but what I've observed is that there is a lot of fear. People are afraid for their own careers and their own positions if they stand in solidarity with somebody who has been found not guilty. And I hope that as time goes on, that will begin to shift in the right direction.
Let's deal head on with some of the cases. One was Los Angeles masseurs who didn't want to be named, claimed that you had groped him at a house in Malibu in California, sued you for sexual battery, gender violence, battery assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress and false imprisonment, and then died before the legal action reached court. What do you want to say about that?
Well,
because as you know, social media was ablaze after that. This was all obviously a sinister thing. Maybe this guy had been shut up, blah, 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 the usual
yes.
stuff.
Well, they're actually...
But in terms of the legality of the case,
Right.
what is your response to it?
My response to it is that we had irrefutable evidence to show that I wasn't even in the state of California when he made this accusation had occurred. And we were very confident that we were going to be able to present, as we have in other cases, that evidence. I also would simply say this was a man who was over 60 years old. And so there's lots of stories about me, you know, enjoying the company of younger men. So this was the first time I was accused of abusing a senior citizen. And, you know, we found out from his family that he had cancer prior to filing that civil suit, and he died of cancer. And, you know, it was sad, but we never had the opportunity
to go in front of the court and to prove our innocence. There have been a couple of other stories about alleged accusers who also passed away,
Right.
which are entirely not true. In the first place, one of those people was not an accuser. She was a stalker, and in fact stalked me for many years, sent white powder in the mail to the Old Vic Theater, called in bomb threats to the Old Vic Theater. We had to evacuate the theater on a number of occasions, and threatened my life. And she was arrested, charged, and convicted in a court in the United States and served more than 4 years in prison. And when she got out of prison, she started making more threats. And it was being examined by the court whether she was going to go back to prison when she was hit by a car and died of her injuries.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in regards, because all of this part is very relevant, because I do believe everything that you said is true, because in regards to the first part of the blacklist, all of those things that has been going on in Hollywood, we cannot, like I said earlier, it'll be very naive of us to actually believe that there is due process in the court of public opinion. There is due process in the courts, which is kind of why I lean more into that. There's even an accountability system that is set up in terms of the courts of appeal, where if they get something wrong in a trial court, it can be reversed. Like we saw that with the Weinstein case, where he was convicted of that in California as well as New York. However, New York did not follow the laws, so it's going back to retrial, which we're going to cover on the channel, as well as the sister channel, Ketchup Court. Links are in the description. But the point is, in regards to Weinstein, again, we know he's guilty as sin. We have seen the evidence, and he's also been convicted because the jury has seen the evidence. The New York court, however, cannot just, without going into too much detail of the case, they cannot just basically bring up anyone that they want and prejudice against basically, if I was to walk into a store and rob a store, and I have an history of murder, right? But I am on trial for robbing a store. What has my history of murder got to do with this particular? How is it relevant to this? That's basically what was happening within that trial, and the judge ruled there. There's a system of accountability in place, at least in the legal system, which is why I kind of favor that. There are so many things within that comes out that can be factual, but at the same time, not everything goes in. We saw that with the Amber Heard trial as well, because there was a lot of evidence with the medical notes on the nurses' notes, etc. But because of authentication issues and hearsay, of course, it doesn't go in. The ethos behind it is made to give maximum fairness to to both parties. That said, in the court of public opinion, it does not have this. It is literally like the Wild Wild West, where the media is the judge. And the media sometimes can judge you to be guilty even if you're not. We've seen it. We've seen it with, and you've seen me cover Jonathan Majors on here, like the way that was being controlled. It was only outlets like TMZ that was kind of giving us the full picture. But we ourselves, when we're watching that trial here, watching updates of that trial unfold, when the video was released, no one covered it in the mainstream. We didn't see it in the mainstream. When I say mainstream, I mean the notable outlets like New York Times or all the things that was covering it, ABC, all those things. They didn't. It was worldwide silence, right? But TMZ covered it on all those outlets, and then later on with his interview, it was seen by his, meaning Major's interview. It was seen there for the first time by well, I would assume for the first time, for those that were not informed with the case, those tapes of Grace Javari running around, etc., chasing him, came out to show that, you know, there was massive skew. What I'm trying to say is that there is, in the court of public opinion, there really is no standard. There are no standards. And even in the court of public opinion, they still renege to the trials that has been adjudicated, that they find, okay, cool, this one works in our favor, so we will use it and we will depend on it. Like, for example, I believe if wine, like, you know, to make the point that I was making earlier in regards to the court system not working, like, for example, we know about the OJ trial, right? They use that as an example for the court system not working. Had Weinstein have been found not guilty, etc., all those things, that would be the same case. We have even seen the reaction to its reversal to that being the case, because that's when it laments, oh, the system is broken, this and that, when I'm like, but it protects people like it protects the normal citizen, so that it puts accountability on the prosecutors to make sure that their case is airtight. We are watching, in regards to the current retrial right now, we are watching corruption literally unfold within that same system that is so rigorous, but it's made so that everything that you're seeing is reliable, so that it's not just anything, it's not just what we want, basically. We don't get our feelings affirmed there, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is, in the court of public opinion, no one wins. No one is going to win. Everyone is going to lose. And it is basically this, in my opinion, the same concept as the lynch mob or the witch hunts back in the day, but the difference obviously with the witch hunts on all those things was it was being done in the courts, but really and truly it's kind of being done now. And if someone sees you as guilty, that's it. In the case of Kevin Spacey, can I conclude and say that he done these things? I've seen some, like I've pointed out, some of the inconsistencies, and I'm like, yeah, if I was to remove the court system out of it, I would actually believe the way he grew up and all those things, that he's most likely just putting up, and like, you know, I don't think he's putting up an act, so to speak, but he's cried in every interview, so there's that. There are so many things that I can speculate, and that's what all this is. It's just speculation until someone actually gets hold of a cold document that actually says, actually, they tried to bring this in, but they couldn't, or XYZ. I always will say the same thing. When it comes to rap, he doesn't say I didn't do it, but when it comes to the business part, he says he did it. But in the end of the day, these are just educated guesses and speculations. I will never know. All I have to go by is the fact that he has got those three different convictions, and this is possibly the most critical I'll be of him, because end of the day, we have to decide what we believe in. I cannot ignore Izzy's point, because her point was poignant. It really does make sense, because end of the day, it is hinged on, do you have available evidence? My opinion, we are living in a different time now from the time that of cases Spacey's accusers. I think we should just do our best to harm ourselves and be in a place of visibility where there can be evidence. I think it is becoming a bit more robust now in terms of collecting of evidence, etc. Obviously, unless you're watching Karimi trial, then that's different. But I'll just leave it there, because I will be here all day if I was to keep trying to juggle like this, or but the point does remain. I think that at one point there is too many trials. If someone else comes up, then yeah, find a way to build go and see a prosecutor or see a therapist. So I have no idea how you can get this man, but if someone, the best thing I can say is, if you know you have a case and you know something has happened to you, the best place you can do is seek help, get get your mind in the right place so that if you do decide to go into the justice system, you do it in the best form. If the Anthony Rapp thing that he's saying he had memory issues, I think that could have been fixed. Not fixed, sorry, that's the wrong word to use. I think that could have been helped a bit better if he had maybe seen a psychotherapist beforehand, like, just to like get him. I have no idea. I have zero idea. I'm not like, but it's just, there are steps you can take. It's not the end of the world kind of thing. I know that everyone in regards to Spacey has made their mind up, but we have, there are limited tools that we already have in running this civilization that we have. Not trusting in these tools doesn't solve anything, because they're just tools. We can only use it to the best way we can, and if something goes bad, it is really on us to try and fix it. And I don't think it's a healthy way to approach the issue, to try and fix the ills that go wrong by having a mentality of, well, we have already deemed is guilty, so damn with everything else. I don't know, but those are my 2 cents anyway today. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. If you're watching this on replay, thank you so much for making it this far. And I hope that you have enjoyed this stream, and I hope that you guys have found it informative one way or the other. I have plenty more streams to come. Make sure that you we do this every Wednesday at 9. I will be posting in the community tab a lot more to kind of show the stories that are going on that really does interest me, so that I can put together a stream and hopefully you guys can benefit a lot from it. So without further ado, again, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Take care of yourself and have a great day. Bye bye.